Everybody, we are here with candidates for the Will County Board, District 13. My name is Alex Ortiz. I'm with the Herald News in Joliet and Shaw Media. I am joined here with Travis from the Daily Herald as well. We're here with 4 candidates for 2 spots on the board. We're here with Democrat Micah Freeman of Plainfield, Democrat Mark Ferry of Plainfield. He is also the sole incumbent in the race and the majority leader. We have Debbie Kurlitis, a Republican from Joliet, and Gerald Smith, a Republican from Plainfield. Thank you guys all for taking time to talk to us today about the issues that voters are going to be worried about this November. So let's get started with a big issue that, for anybody who's paying attention to Will County politics, knows it's on top of a lot of people's mind, which is truck traffic infrastructure. It's been a big deal for many years here. The county has been recently trying to address this issue through a myriad of studies to try to improve truck routing and, again, improve the quality of life for residents around here. So I just want to hear basically what you guys want and to see, and if you guys support how the county has been addressing this issue, again, with these studies and trying to address it with infrastructure improvements. Mark, we're going to start with you since you're the incumbent. How would you grade or assess the county's job during the last couple of years when it comes to this issue?
Well, everybody, to grade how we're doing so far, is that what you want to ask me? Okay. I think we're doing okay so far, but there's always room for improvement on everything that's done. Nobody is perfect. Since nobody's perfect, we could always improve our efforts. I still think that a big problem was underlined when we had the disappearance of the Illiana Expressway. I know there's people that don't like that idea, but that was going to alleviate a lot of the truck problems. So now that we're not doing the Illiana, we have to explore other options and make different truck routes. And oddly enough, nobody wants to be on a truck route. So it is a problem. It's definitely a problem. And I think there may have to be a relook or look over again the Illiana Expressway as a possibility of bringing that back. For sure, I couldn't say that's the only way, but that's a possibility to look at over again.
Okay, Ms. Kurlitis, how would you address this issue in terms of grading the county and what they've done on infrastructure and truck routing?
Well, I think everyone is trying to do the best they can, and they want to improve relationships on all sides. Obviously, this has to be a balanced approach with preferred truck routes and the local residents' concerns. So, have we done enough? We've tried. Have we done more? Absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Freeman.
I agree with both Debbie and Mark. We have made improvements, but it's going to be a progressive thing that we're going to have to keep dealing with. We have to keep in consideration that constituents they don't like the roads, but at the same time they don't want their homes to be affected. So we have to take all of those things into consideration. I would be interested in looking at the studies that the county has done. And I, of course, would vote for anything that would improve the traffic conditions. I know that there is a 143rd job that Plainfield is looking into. I think that will help. Is it going to affect the constituents? It's absolutely going to hurt them in some form, and we have to take all those things into consideration. If the construction and the infrastructure improvements bring in good union paying jobs, that's good for everybody, and if it improves the traffic, that's a win-win. So that's where I'm at on that.
Okay, and Gerald.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. The thing that I look at the most, though, is I think we need to really develop a master plan that's more than just 10 or 20 years out in the future. We need to be looking 30 or 40 years down the road to figure out what's going on. We have these major industrial areas with the warehouses and distribution centers, and that's generating a ton of truck traffic. And so we need to, when we zone them, we need to be looking at how is this really going to be affecting the residential population. We don't want the trucks going through the residential areas for sure, but we do need the truck traffic in order to support the commercial and the industrial areas. I'm in favor of the 143rd Street project. I'm also in favor of the 126th Street interchange on I-55. I think that would help in rerouting traffic away from Plainfield at least, and possibly even from some of the residential areas in North Joliet and Romeoville and so forth as well. I think the county is doing a good job, but I think I'd like to see us plan out further, 30 or 40 years to get a consolidated approach to this.
Okay, and kind of going off of that, what I know I'm going back in time a little bit here, but last year, one of the more consequential and controversial, frankly, decisions that the county board made was to implement a county gas tax, about 4 cents per gallon. There were a lot of strong emotions on both sides, but basically the argument for it was that the county has, as Gerald alluded to, a lot of long-term projects that needed to be addressed and that the revenues were not sufficient. Of course, this was even prior to the pandemic, you know, people obviously thought people were taxed enough, and ultimately, like I said, the board did pass it. It was 4 cents per gallon, and it seems like the revenue projections are pretty spot on so far this year. But again, a little bit of a retroactive question here, but I just want to ask for all of you, what would you have done if you were on the board? Or, and Mark, what did you do when you had this vote and why? And we'll go backwards. So Mr. Smith, would you have voted for an additional 4 cent gas tax at the county level?
Well, I'm not a fan of increasing taxes at all. However, if it's justified through quality planning and where the plans are very succinct and necessary, then, you know, unfortunately, we have to tax some. I am not a fan of arbitrary raising the tax, 4 cents here, 4 cents next year, 4 cents the year after. I can live with a one-time tax increase on gasoline if that money is going solely for transportation infrastructure projects. Again, I'm not a fan of tax increases, but our roads we need it, and we definitely need funding and resources to tackle the long-range plans that we need to be developing.
Okay, and to be fair, though, that money is specifically marked for transportation projects. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong there. But Ms. Freeman, let's go with you. What would you have done if you were on the board? Would you have voted for the tax?
I would have voted yes for it, just simply because we have learned from past governors and state legislator that our money for roads can be easily taken away, and that puts us in a bind. With the tax for gas that is specifically going for our roads, we are able to promise our roads will be in good condition, and I'm seeing so many roads being repaired, and my tires are very thankful for it.
Okay, Ms. Kaulitis, what would you have done? Oh, you're muted.
Trying not to mess with everybody else's. So sorry.
That's
I
okay.
would have voted no. Main reason I would have voted no is we were going to have already a $10 million revenue coming into Illinois, into Will County. So I think that additional $10 million already coming in was something we should have worked with And then if we needed to visit an additional gas tax at another point down the road, I would have considered it, but right now I would have definitely voted no. And I went to quite a few town halls, and a lot of the businesses were very concerned about additional taxation. So for me, it would have been no at this time.
Okay, and Mr. Ferry, I'll obviously give you an opportunity to tell the viewers what you did and why, and maybe you also want to address the part that Ms. Carlides talked about, that the county was already going to get extra money from the state increase, but obviously the board thought that probably wasn't enough. Could you address all that?
Sure. I hope I can do it in the amount of time you want. But anyway, I voted yes. And it was a 4 cents a gallon, and with a ceiling of 8 cents over a period of years. And we're not home rule, so this was an opportunity to make sure that our roads get fixed. And as you know, nothing gets cheaper in life. You'll want to raise when your contract is up. So will Mr. Travis, so will Debbie, so will Micah. Micah's not, but Jerry Smith, I don't know you that well, Gerald. I don't know if you're retired or still working. So everybody has to cover the costs of expenses on stuff, and repairing roads, it doesn't get any cheaper. So as time goes on, and as the truck traffic, goes through the city and ruins the roads as well, I think that it was an opportunity to get funding that would cover to make sure we get our roads fixed. And I don't know if you've ever ridden around the city of Joliet lately, but there's been a lot of road repairs, and there's construction all over the place going on the interstates. Of course, that coming from different, but for Will County roads are coming up to being fully in good shape, and that was my intent. Plus, I wanted to make sure that the equipment operators, the 150 operating engineers, get some jobs out of this and help them. Again, the economy isn't just it's people working, and when I started this 8 years ago, my campaign stump speech included the words, I wanted to make this known as Will Work County. And by golly, with all the projects and all the road fixing and everything else, our people are at work, and I wanted it to be known as a place that you come to raise your family and you work at a job. And that's one of the hardest things, is to change jobs when you're trying to raise a family. I did it 4 times. I know. So I finally wound up ending my work career at Citgo at the Romeoville refinery.
Okay. All right, let's move on to something in the same vein, but kind of more generally speaking on taxes. Obviously, property taxes are a big deal in Illinois, just in general. A lot of people have very much concerns about it, but at least at the county level, I think county officials, it's fair to say, have consistently argued the fact that when people look at their property tax bill, the county represents a fairly small portion of it, and that the county has maintained fiscal responsibility throughout many years. But I just kind of want to hear generally, how would you guys rate the county on fiscal responsibility? And Ms. Freeman, let's start with you.
I do know that we have a balanced budget last year. And I know that they are they're running the county budget on 6.5 cents for every taxed dollar. They're keeping their essential workers, and they are keeping their governmental offices and fully staffed, and they are, which is very important. And I think that they're doing a good job. I'm afraid of what's going to happen this next year, hoping that COVID doesn't affect it too much. But I think that we can always do better, but I think that they've done a pretty good job so far.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
I would probably give the county a C at this particular point in time. Some of the staffing levels I think are a little heavy. In some areas I think it might be a little light too. But the county is trying hard, but I think it really needs to take a look again at a comprehensive level. We've got capital projects, we've got employee payroll. There's a lot of issues that come into play here. I would like to take a closer look at each line in the budget. I have not done that yet, but I think that we could still cut some money from the budget, therefore not raise taxes anymore.
Okay, Mr. Ferry?
Where to start on this one? Like Micah said, we do run this county on 6.5 cents out of every tax dollar. And if you look at your tax bill, you'll see where the big expenses are. And it's not the county itself. We, for the longest time, operated with the notion of do more with less. And all of that does is create overtime deficits down the road and creates problems that way. So the real answer is adequate staffing. And I don't think we do that bad of a job. I think we do a very good job with operating this county on 6.5 cents out of every dollar. And it's not like everybody gets like a dartboard and throws a dart at the board to see how much money, like if there were amounts on there. They start the study of the departments and review all departments every year annually, and they do a good job at their review. And let me give them sorry, I can't talk right now. All right, sorry about that. That was my doctor. Anyway, they do a very good job of reviewing and targeting how much money they need for every year's expenses. And I think, like I said, prior to this, there's been do more with less philosophy, and that only creates overtime that really, why would you want to pay time and a half out when you can pay straight time? So I just say adequate staffing is the key to this whole budget thing. If you got it adequately staffed by the right amount of people, you don't run into those problems. And that's that's my opinion.
Okay, Ms. Krolitis.
Yes, well, I can really mainly talk from my own experience as a Plainfield Township trustee, where, we have worked to hold the line on taxes. That's something that I would champion at Will County. I do believe that we should do more with less. I disagree with Mark on that, because you can do more with less. Obviously, we need to take everything into consideration, but we continue to expand our services at Plainfield Township regularly by not increasing the taxes to our residents. All the time we do that with partnerships with different organizations and working within our budget and within our means. I'm concerned mainly about the whole pandemic. I don't know how this is going to flesh out in a county budget next year. So we're going to have to be very creative. We're going to have to be we're going to have to look at a lot of different avenues on how we can handle our budget and not pass it down to the taxpayer, but really serve our community more services and handle things just as well as we have in challenging times. So COVID-19, I just don't know what to expect, but I really will, look for a balanced budget. I won't vote for a non-balanced budget.
Okay. I'm going to change direction slightly here, although again, staying on kind of the finances topic. Another big decision that the county board made last year was to basically not opt out, which is a long and uncomplicated way of saying they are allowing recreational marijuana sales in unincorporated areas. And they approved a tax also in unincorporated areas and incorporated areas, to be fair. Now, we don't know exactly how much money will be made from the county tax on recreational sales. Those numbers have not necessarily come in yet. And admittedly, it's not going to be a lot of money. The estimates are maybe in the tens of thousands, maybe six figures over a year. So it's not a whole lot of money. But what may still be decided if when new members come on the board is how exactly that money will be spent. There's a bit of a division to say most members think it should go just towards healthcare and addiction services. Other members have argued that it should be reinvested in communities that have been hard hit by the war on drugs. I'm curious, if you guys were on the board when that decision is made, how would you vote, or where would you want that money to go? And Ms. Karlaitis, we can start with you.
Good, thank you. We obviously, because Plainfield Township having this is a question as well for the main thing, and I don't want to sound like I'm not completely supportive of all those ideas, 100%. And the state of Illinois is going to, when they earmark monies towards in our state, we are going to be doing programs like those, rehabilitation, helping communities programs, expanding. But one of the things I want to address is that the expungement costs. So we now have to expunge the records of individuals in rural county that have had a record of marijuana. So those expungement costs are going to be an additional cost that I do not think should be passed down to the taxpayer. So there's going to be court fees, office fees on handling expungement costs of now wiping out the recreational or the marijuana offenses on the record. So that's something I would encourage the county board to look at, as well as obviously expanding services and helping people that deal with addiction.
Okay, Mr. Ferry.
Okay, I had to find the unmute button there. I thoroughly, totally support using that money to help with addiction programs and also other related mental health maladies that go along with the addiction to help people. And I see that as the main thing. There is a expungement program that's already in existence that is going to be done virtually this year, as opposed to the regular one down at the courthouse that we've done in the past. So I think we should invest. A long time ago, they used to have a lot more mental health care for people that had problems, and I don't think that they don't have facilities like that very much anymore. They're few and far between. So in order to help those that don't have insurance policies, that health insurance that helps that, not everybody does yet, I don't believe. I mean, Obamacare was supposed to insure everybody, but I don't know if everybody is insured. But just the same, whether they are or they aren't, I think we should have a focused and concentrated effort to make sure people in Will County have the ability to get help. And that's the way I feel about it.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
Yes, to answer your question, how would I vote? I would have voted no on just the overall use of recreational marijuana and the recreational sales and use. Any revenues that comes in from that definitely needs to go towards addiction issues, addiction problems, and other mental health issues. I agree with that. But, and I know that the state has already approved of the use of recreational marijuana. Based on principle, though, I still would have to say we need to just get away from marijuana altogether. The revenues that we would gain from that will not offset the costs due to increased in drug dependency or drug abuse, homelessness, and other mental health issues. So my answer would still be no, I wouldn't vote for it.
Okay, so you would have voted to opt out of allowing recreational marijuana sales in unincorporated areas.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Freeman.
I would have voted for it. And I do agree with the state that it should be spent on supporting criminal justice reform, mental health support, and substance abuse. I would like to see education. I'm a former teacher. I would like to see that added. I believe that marijuana policies have hurt minorities, and the money from the sales should go to help those people. Because they are our constituents and they deserve our help. That's why we are their elected officials.
Okay.
I would like, can I just mention I would have voted no on recreational marijuana. I would have opted out.
So you would have, yeah, you would have voted to opt out. Then. Okay.
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, another very heated issue when that was up last year. Sticking with this kind of question of equity. Is another issue, especially in light of the civil unrest and the calls for, anti-racist policies in the country. This has been an issue in the county in terms of how people of color, especially when it comes to businesses owned by people of color, businesses owned by women, how fairly they're being treated and how many opportunities they have to participate in county business. The county has been talking about this issue in also in regards to hiring practices. So the county executive recently voiced support for a disparity study to kind of evaluate how the county is inclusive in its practices. The county executives also wanted to hire somebody to kind of oversee the study, oversee diversity and inclusivity within county government. So I just want to ask you guys what you would do if you were elected or reelected to foster that sort of inclusivity and diversity, and if you support the policy proposals, and they're just proposals at this point, that the county has recently been discussing. And Ms. Freeman, let's start with you.
Recent events have definitely brought to light the disparities among our minority groups. And I don't feel we can adequately address and rectify any inequalities without help from a qualified, experienced, diverse specialist. It's like if I have a health problem and I need to go see a specialist, I'm going to go see a specialist. And if with this, it has been an issue in our communities for a very long time, and I feel that we need a diverse specialist. I'm not just running for one person or one party. I'm running for the whole county of Will County. I grew up in a home that was very large. My parents took in foster children that had been in the system for their entire lives. They took them in as teenagers. So I have seen a lot of different backgrounds. I was an educator. I have worked with many different socioeconomic families, ethnic backgrounds, and we have to understand and we have to get rid of these disparities.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Yes, as a civil rights attorney and employment attorney, I do not support any addition to the staff for a diversity or inclusivity specialist in county government. There can be studies done, and I have no problem with conducting studies to see where we might be able to work, but that should be that shouldn't be part of any staff within the organization. Personally, I think um, that should be contracted out to someone, to an organization that does this type of thing. They have the expertise, and that's where that should sit. Um, I am not in favor of any type of mandatory or forced ratio for employment. That's going to lead to, or could possibly lead to, reverse discrimination. And I don't appreciate or don't like any discrimination whatsoever. Again, we should be hiring the best qualified and the best qualified only. My recommendation would be, though, that the board develop a committee or a subcommittee to work with the Human Resources Office on a quarterly basis or a bi-monthly basis to look at all hiring decisions and procedures to ensure that there is no discrimination going on in the workplace. That doesn't cost anything that way as well.
Okay, and I should add, to be fair, it's not like the county executive's office had voiced support for any sort of quotas or anything like that. They merely wanted to evaluate whether there were, I guess they use the term roadblocks to, especially smaller businesses, which tend to be maybe women and minority owned, whether there were any roadblocks to actually getting county contracts and things like that, just to be clear. But Mr. Ferry, do you want to address this issue and where you think those conversations are going?
Sure. I agree with the county executive that we should have somebody that should be maybe tied in with the Human Resources Department that is a specialist. I know that's not what the county executive said from the statement you read. However, I do believe we should go that one step farther and make sure and ensure an equal playing field for everyone, period.
Oh, okay, Ms. Kaulitis?
Minority participation, whenever and however, absolutely should be a priority. To your point, Alex, building better relationships within the minority community. As far as businesses, we should be working with the minority business enterprises. We should be working with the Black Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, we should be doing more to make sure that minorities are involved with jobs and have the opportunity to bid and be a part of making Will County a better place for all of us. I know that Ray and Rachel are working on, I had some notes here, like a bipartisan effort to make sure that contracts and minorities are offered and included. So I'd love to know what comes out of their meeting. So I know the board is addressing it, and it absolutely should be a priority. And we should make all efforts to make sure that people can be a part of building and being part of working in Will County.
Okay, thank you all. All right, last couple of questions here. So I want to address kind of how, I guess, a heightened sense of political polarization has kind of seeped into seemingly all levels of government, including county government over the last couple of years. And while, frankly, it hasn't been a huge issue, I would say, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I would think most issues that come before the board have pretty large support among all members. It's not super partisan. But at the same time, there have been some instances where, when it comes to resolutions that are mostly symbolic, when it comes to matters of gun control and reproductive rights, which obviously the county board does not have any really direct legislative powers over, but it still comes up as a sort of symbolic issue to support, Gun Violence Awareness Month. But even so, those have kind of produced some heated, I would say, arguments over the last couple of years among board members. And I guess I would like to hear what you guys would all do if elected or re-elected to reach across the aisle, kind of cool the temperatures a bit, reduce polarization, try to avoid divisive issues. How would you handle that if you were elected or, again, re-elected? And Mr. Ferry, let's start with you.
Thank you. I wanted to be the first leader on this because I I think of the community of the Will County Board amongst itself, not as the Republicans and the Democrats and the at each other's throat all the time. That isn't the truth. As a matter of fact, when I took over as majority leader, one of the first things that I did, we had an attorney at one of the cases for land use come in and start throwing rocks, verbal rocks at Mr. Moustis. And I right away told that attorney, don't think you can come in here and attack any one member or any of these members without hearing from me, because my first and foremost thing is that we're not going to just allow that. Don't think you have a right to come in and throw rocks at Mr. Moustis or Mr. Kaulitis or anybody else along the way. Any of the people on this committee, any of the people that are here attending, that's not proper, and stop it. And since then, guess what? He's conducted himself a lot different when he comes in to ask questions and describe different things that he represents in different. And I wanted to set, and likewise, you know what? I've had Mr. Moustis stick up for me too, and I just consider us a community that is like a more or less focused towards the same goal of getting there for the people. But do we take different routes? Absolutely, we take different routes. Do we argue about it? Yeah, because one side tries to convince the other side. But is it, I don't like Mr. Moustis, or I don't like Mr. Kaulitis, or I don't like Mr. Tom Weigel? No, that's not it at all. And there's when we leave that boardroom after we make decisions, leave that boardroom knowing that we make the best decisions for the citizens who put us in that room for Will County. And I feel that way. And even if it's a decision that I don't agree with, I feel like that the majority has voted for it and realizes that this is the best we can do at this point. And that's my answer.
Okay, Mr. Smith, how would you address this issue of hyperpolarization?
Well, I had served a number of years on the as a trustee on the village board, the village of Mahomet, Illinois, before I moved up to Plainfield, and that was basically a nonpartisan organization. We worked jointly for the benefit of the community. In my opinion, there is no room for partisanship in local government, and I consider county government local government. Open debate is accepted and even encouraged, but I sort of agree with Mark here that once a final decision or a final vote is made, we all need to get behind whatever is done as a unified body to support it. So no, I am not a partisan, and I don't see any place for partisanship in the county organization.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, Mark, I should have mentioned the gentleman you spoke of were Republicans. You're a Democrat, to kind of make your point there. Ms. Freeman.
I have to agree with both Mr. Smith and Mr. Ferry. We are elected to serve the constituents of Will County. We have to take their concerns into our votes. I have been married for 25 years to a wonderful man. We have had some very, very interesting and enlightening conversations. We don't always see eye to eye, but his input is just as valuable as mine. And are we going to agree all the time? No. And are we going to have to compromise? Yes. It is whatever is best for the county. It is getting behind each other. It's working together. And it's one of the main reasons I decided to run for Will County. I'm watching the Will County board meetings and I'm seeing this disagreement between both sides. And I'm like, I don't feel like they were working as well together as they should be. They need to stay focused on county issues. And if I'm ever in that room as a board member and something that is not a county issue should not be spent any time on, it should be county issues. We're there to serve the constituents, not stress our federal and national concerns.
Okay, and Ms. Carlitis.
Yes. Looks like we all agree that we want to work together. And thank you, Mark, for liking my husband. I appreciate that. I do want to just mention that my husband right now, Tim Carlitis, does have the County Board 13 seat as a Republican. And he had some changes in work happening this year, and he wanted to finish out his term, but not run again. So that's why I'm running. And he didn't want to step down and try to, have someone else step in. He wanted to finish out his term. So that's why I'm running. But yeah, I think the main thing we want to do is we want to search for solutions that make Will County better. And that anything that really is not county related should not really become a circus or a show. So I would encourage people to work together, search for solutions. I mean, we all want Will County to be a great place that we can live and raise our families and our grandkids. So let's work together.
Okay, great. Let's start to move up here. Travis, do you have anything to contribute before we kind of give closing statements here?
No.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, so let's just end here. I'm going to give you the guys the last 2 or 3 minutes each just to kind of give your last pitch. Why should the voters of the 13th district elect you to represent them on the county board? And let's go backwards again. Ms. Carlitis.
Sorry. Well, thank you so much. You did a great job, Alex, moderating us, and I'm so glad that we all have an opportunity. Just quickly, my husband and I have been married for 26 years. 18 years ago, we moved out to Will County, and truly it was one of the best things that we have done. We've decided to raise our 3 kids here, our family, and we absolutely love our community. I've been very involved in the community at my kids' schools, all during their grammar schools, their high schools. I've been very involved in my church and also helping in the community. 7 years ago, I decided to run for Plainfield Township trustee. So I'm a 2-term Plainfield trustee, and I have loved, someone told me you're gonna love going to the township because you like working with people and serving the community. And I absolutely have. It's been a joy to serve there. We've worked to hold the line on taxes while expanding our services. We help seniors, the disabled, youth. So serving Plainfield Township has been amazing. I'm also work for a state representative here in the 97th district, and that has been terrific. This is my 6th year as his chief of staff. So you can imagine every day I deal with constituent issues. I am in the community. I work with residents from all types of areas. I mean, unemployment has been a huge issue we've been helping with FOID cards, governmental programs, financial assistance, whatever it is in our community. I work every day with the constituents, making sure that they are helped and assisted from our office here, and as well as various outreaches from seniors to youth to kids to self-defense to identity theft. Everything you can imagine we have done through the office here. So that's been amazing. And as far as COVID-19, our offices have reached out incredibly. We have helped distribute masks to nursing homes and face shields to restaurants. We have worked with the mobile food pantry at St. Mary's. We have served over 8,000, just about 8,000 meals to homes. We would box them up through Illinois Food Pantry, and our team has been out there bi-monthly helping. We've done blood drives. I mean, I feel like, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm really more saying how much I love to serve the community and and really that's what we should be doing as elected officials. We should be serving. That is our number one goal. And of course, making our taxes, work well. But that's some of the things that I have done. And if I have your vote, that's what I'm going to bring to Will County. Searching for solutions, expanding our services, lower taxes, and just fiscal accountability. And just hold on to Will County and make it just a great place for all of us to live. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, all right, Ms. Freeman, how about you? Why should people vote for you?
Well, again, I want to thank you, Alex and Travis, for being here and listening to us and giving us this hour. I am a mother, a grandmother, a wife, and a resident of Will County. I earned my bachelor's degree from Eastern Illinois University in teaching. I was the first one in my family to ever get a degree. I understand how hard it is for some people to make that leap and be able to do that. I went ahead and got my master's in curriculum and instruction from Concordia University. My husband and I started moving around the country for his work. And during that time, I continued volunteering in classrooms. I am a firm believer in volunteering and getting people engaged. I helped with remedial students. I volunteered with English language learners. I volunteered with the teachers, just helping with their day-to-day tasks. When we moved back to Illinois, I was able to volunteer with Lurie's Children's Hospital out of Chicago with a program called ParentWise. It helps other families and their parents be able to go through life-changing surgeries like my daughter went through. I'm very active with our church. My husband and I are both on boards and have been for years. I started a breakfast club in my neighborhood to get people to feel more comfortable with each other and to talk, and so that our kids would be held accountable up and safe up and down our neighborhood streets. Throughout my life, I have lived in small towns, suburb cities, and most of the time I lived in Illinois. So I understand the hardships that people are going through. I understand the struggles. And because of my education and my experiences, I think I am a very good candidate for the Will County Board. I decided in 2018 to run against my state representative because I didn't feel like we were being represented. And I learned through that process that a lot of the concerns are on the county level. And so here I am. And I want to, no matter what, remind people to vote. November 3rd, it's very important. Your voices need to be heard.
Okay, and Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Alex and Travis, for hosting this. Again, my name is Gerald Smith, and I desire to use my knowledge, my experience, my skill sets to work as a fiscal conservative and social conservative for the overall good of the people of Will County. I am a retired Army officer. I enlisted as a private and then ultimately retired as a lieutenant colonel with nearly 22 years of active duty experience. Most of my work in the Army was involved with construction management. I was an engineer officer. Construction management, project development, and budget programming. I'm also a retired university professor. I have a PhD in management. I taught business management courses at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and then at Millikan University in Decatur. My specialty was in the area of human resources, the people side of organizations. And I was certified as a professional in human resources and senior professional in human resources. I'm currently retiring as an attorney, focusing in the areas of employment law and civil rights law and school law. There, I assisted individuals with issues regarding discrimination in the workplace, wrongful terminations, workplace and school bullying, and things of that nature. I also served as an elected trustee, as I mentioned, and a board member for the Village of Mahomet, just outside Champaign. And I've been a leader in our church for, well, since I've been an adult. Service has been ingrained in me. It's been an active part of my life, and I desire to put all of my skills and energy and effort, knowledge, and experience, put this all to use for the good people of Will County, and that's why I'm running for this office.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith, and thank you for your service, by the way. And also, I'm familiar with Mahomet. I went to the University of Illinois, so it's a very nice community out there. Okay, Mr. Ferry, and now as a lone incumbent as well, I will give you the last word here. Why should people give you another chance in the county board?
Thank you, Alex and Travis, for hosting this meeting. It's refreshing to have a chance to just answer questions and not go head to head and answer questions in a relaxed format. I'm a Will County resident all my life. I was born at, and I'm smiling when I say this, St. Joe's Hospital, but not the one everyone on this call would know. I was born at the one that was on Broadway Street in Joliet, and which is no longer in existence. You'd have to go to the archives to see a picture of that building. But anyway, then I grew up, I was raised in Lockport and grew up at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, and graduated from there in 1973. And my bachelor's degree is in radio and television broadcasting and communications. And I worked in many jobs, and I got quite a bit of experience, and was on the union negotiating committee for 16 of 24 years out at Citgo. I felt it was time to infuse some youth into that organization because I knew I was going to retire within 7 years, and I figured time to get somebody that will go head to head with the company and win for the employees. And so I am now retired from Citgo and a county board member, and I want to come back and continue my work as an advocate for senior citizens, as I have been these past 8 years over at Caroline, and want to continue to advocate for senior citizens all over Will County, wherever I'm needed. And I would like to say one thing that my constituents definitely know. They pick up the phone and they call this cell phone, which is listed on the county website. They'll get me, and I'll be there to work for them, and I will continue to do so. I thank you for electing me originally and the second time around, and I'm looking for a third time around, which is a 2-year term, and I want to continue to help people in Will County. Thank you very much, and thank you both.
Well, we appreciate you all being here, taking the time out to talk to us and answering very important questions.
Thank you.
We want to remind everybody, yes, November 3rd is the election, but to vote early, please, this year. So again, thank you to Micah Freeman, Mark Ferry, Debbie Krolitis, and Gerald Smith. These are the candidates running for 2 seats on the Will County Board District 13. Remember to go to the dailyherald.com as well as shawlocal.com for more coverage of local, state, and federal races. Thank you all again, and best of luck in November.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.